Hi, friends. We've been thinking about something as far as forgiveness is concerned. We were just talking about it. Every day, it seems like you have to forgive somebody for something each time, doesn't it? And I want you to forgive me for this, but we'll be right back because this topic of forgiveness is one that has really caught our attention.
I can't wait to see you and hold you in my arms. I can't wait for the memories we'll keep inside our hearts. I can't wait, cause I've been missing you for oh so long. I can't wait, can't wait. See, I've been missing you. Can't wait.
This is what I meant that you need to forgive me for because that intro was for the Sloans because I didn't bring up the ones for the Jamals like I was supposed to. But listen, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Um, this is the first in our series of 7 dealing with forgiveness. And we really want to unpack some things. And we strongly encourage you to let other people know, especially couples that you know. And even though you might think that they're doing really well, this thing about forgiveness is so crucial because so many relationships are impacted by this. And so many relationships are damaged because of not dealing with forgiveness. Isn't that right?
It is right. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew this is Friends to Your Marriage. I'm Dr. Aaron Jamal. This is
Dr. Margaret Jamal. I could tell because he had that look on his face like, okay, when are you going to say what I want you to say? Right? But I forgive you.
so again. That was our letting you know who it is that's bringing you this topic. I agree.
Hmm.
We do have a very complex topic when you're talking about
Yeah.
forgiveness. It's not a one size fits all scenario. It encompasses so many different areas and has so many um, I guess you say
Layers,
yes,
complexities.
layers of challenges, if you will.
Hmm.
Even if it is that you have determined and made up your mind that you're going to forgive someone about something, it goes beyond that. Because even beyond your decision to forgive someone, right, doesn't necessarily mean that you're not still hurt
Hmm.
or not still angry.
And as couples, well, I think one of the main things that we need to learn as couples is that it's not a one time necessarily situation where you say, I already forgave you.
Mhm.
And then they do something else. And it's like sometimes you grow weary of forgiving,
Mhm.
but we shouldn't. And we're going to talk about how we're going to explore forgiveness as well. So we do invite you to our chat because it is interactive. And some of you are joining us. We really encourage you to join us by YouTube, using YouTube. So if you go to our website, which is idometoo.org, right there we have the link and you can join us. You can
Mhm.
actually watch us on the website. You ready to get started?
I am.
Good. And this is a lesson, so I want you to keep that in mind. So we are a live, interactive, streaming marriage support, and we have different facilitators. We happen to be the Jamals who you see on Tuesday evenings. And check this out. This is what we're exploring.
Our series focused topic, forgiveness,
Uh-huh.
exploring the question, when should you stop forgiving someone?
Yeah.
I think that's one of those questions that's not new.
Hmm.
Um, I think there are a number of people throughout history that have asked the question, how many times? How long?
Yeah.
And so there is that lingering aspect of how frequently we have to forgive even the same person, not just talking about forgiving others, but forgiving the same person. Maybe it's the person that's your spouse. Maybe it's somebody that you're working with. Maybe it's your child. Maybe it's you. Either way,
That happens.
there
Yeah.
is the challenge. How many times?
Hmm. So we're gonna go and move right along with sharing this. I thought this was interesting.
Mm.
About Christians.
Hmm.
Yeah. Can you see that?
Well, although most Christians recall a point at which they gave no strings attached forgiveness,
Hmm.
some express reflections or
Reluctance.
reluctance in specific cares. Now,
Cases.
see, yeah, you go ahead and read it then.
Okay. Around 1 in 4 practicing Christians, 23% has a person in their life they just can't forgive. That's what I thought was interesting.
Mm.
To have somebody that you just say you can't forgive. And I also thought it was interesting as far as couples are concerned. And what I mean, what was interesting to me about that is sometimes you have couples and they experience something in their lives.
Mhm.
One can forgive, but the other one won't. Like say something happens to someone they love,
Mhm.
to a child, or somebody challenges them, they lose a job, that type of thing. And then one is harboring bitterness, the other one isn't, but the other spouse is still subjected to the bitterness of the spouse who's harboring it. And
Mhm.
so it really impacts the peace in the family, in the household,
Mhm.
right?
It affects a lot more than that as well. When we're talking about this whole area of forgiveness, and
Mhm.
you said two words, you said one of them can't and the other one won't. I think more than not, the scenario isn't about whether or not we can forgive someone, is whether or not we're willing to do it.
Yeah.
We're in this place where we're stuck and unwilling to move forward because we won't.
Mm-hmm.
We could,
Mm-hmm.
but we won't. And sometimes that reasoning that we have is because we think that if we do it, then they're going to feel like they're getting away with it,
We
or
want
they're
them to
going to
be
feel.
punished. It's like we're in this era now where people feel like people have to pay. Somebody has to pay. Somebody has to be punished, and it's just horrible. It's like you can see on social media,
Mhm.
like this situation that happened with Kanye West, for example. You see him all blasted all over with him and his wife and his marriage and things, but it's like people are eager to pounce on him, like they did with Will Smith with that slap thing. It's like
Mhm.
people were rehearsing what was wrong over and over again. It's like they didn't want to get over it.
Right.
It's like my turn to jump on this person, my turn to bring this person down, my turn to, say, don't
Even beyond the
forgive.
apology.
Yeah, beyond the apology,
Mhm.
not willing to forgive. And I know that's, and if you're in a relationship and that's the type of mentality that you have, your relationship is going to erode.
Mhm.
It's not going to be happy.
Mhm.
Bitterness does not go with a happy relationship.
Right. Because it cripples your capacity for love. And we're talking about capacity. Think about like we have our cups, right?
We got our
Our
cups.
cups have a limited capacity
Hmm.
for filling. I mean, what you can put in here.
Right.
If you put too much in it, it's going to overflow,
No water.
right?
Yeah.
But the reality of our ability as well to love is we lack the capacity the more unforgiveness or bitterness we're harboring. It hinders our ability to actually be loved and to love others.
Yeah.
We can't receive it or give it if it is that we're filled with this bitterness and unforgiveness.
Can,
We're going to get more into that as
can I
well.
just quickly, what really caught my attention about this
Mm.
is that it says 1 in 4 practicing Christians. Now, I don't know how they determine who's practicing and who's not, but to me, if they're practicing Christianity, then they're practicing forgiveness. There is no I can't forgive if you're a practicing Christian, I believe, as far as what Jesus taught.
Well, again, we're not going to get into judging them as well. What I do think that when it is that we're talking about people that have faith in Jesus, we're a work in progress. all of
So
us.
we're practicing. We're not perfect yet, but we're practicing.
Well,
Okay.
we may be perfect as
Practice
far
makes
as he's
perfect.
concerned, because he's already atoned for our imperfections, if you will. But we
Mhm.
still have to live with one another. And in living with one another, at times we are subject to those things it is that we do to each other, be it
Mhm.
unintentional or intentional.
Yeah.
Um, that's just the reality of it, which is why we're called to love one another as He has loved us.
Indeed.
And if we're doing that, then we have to exercise forgiveness. No question about
Right.
that.
So let's go to this. One of my favorites. So we have this other segment now that we've introduced, which is Dear Marriage Coach.
Mhm,
And we invite people to ask us questions that we will cover,
mhm,
in our broadcast.
mhm.
And so we're going to share one of the questions that we were asked um, by one of our participants.
Okay.
That's one of our listeners. Listen to this. Here, let me play it now.
Dear marriage coach, I'm tired of forgiving my husband for the same thing. He keeps spending our money without telling me. He already messed up my credit. And I think that he just keeps doing it because he says he's sorry and I just forgive him. Isn't forgiving him just enabling him to keep getting away with it?
Okay.
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 And that's a good question. Is forgiving him? Well, one thing is she's saying that he keeps saying he's sorry.
Mhm.
Even the area of forgiveness where he's, where this strife is happening, money is a popular one. People arguing or, having money issues and then, blaming the other spouse for it.
Well, sometimes it is the other spouse is actually causing, the harm or hurt or whatever that they're upset about. Becoming upset is the result of the other spouse at times either spending
Mm-hmm.
without, considering, or spending
Mm-hmm.
without trying to explain or reason with them why it should happen today.
Right. Right. Okay.
I think it's important, if we're going to deal with the question that is there, to recognize that everything bears consequences.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be there, as far as getting away with something, nobody really gets away with anything.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, when we have these challenges, if you will, about um, the how many times you're going to forgive, there's a dynamic here that I think is interesting. If
Hmm.
you're forgiving in such a way that you're tallying each time you forgive, are you really forgiving?
Well, maybe you're forgiving, but
So,
you are remembering how many times you're forgiving. So what is forgiving then?
well, I think there is a method or a style, if you will, of forgiving as well. And again,
Style. Okay.
Jesus said for us to love others as He loves us, right?
Right.
Do you think we want God to tally how many times He's forgiven us?
Do we want him to tally?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. What difference would it make?
Well, it begins to deal with the volume of times it is that we go back to Him. If it is that we're concerned about God counting how many times it is He had to forgive us, we're going to feel pretty bad about going to Him, because we realize and recognize we mess up a lot. We do,
Or
probably more than we even imagine.
I get that. Or on the other hand, you could think about God loves me so much that he's forgiven me 1,000 times.
Okay,
I mean,
but
there's a different perspective.
the tallying aspect, and I'm just okay. Well, in my opinion, the
Okay.
tallying aspect still traps you to this offense. If it
Mm,
is that you're counting, okay, here we go, we did it again. Again says you really haven't let go of the first one, and you're adding to it. Okay, we're doing it again. This is the fifth time. Okay, so there's 5 times you're actually holding on to this thing, so you really haven't let this thing go.
okay. So you forgive the pain. You forgive what caused you to be upset. You forgive that. But that doesn't mean that you can't count how many times that you're forgiving
Well, I'm not dealing with what you
because
can or can't. That's not. I'm not trying to give permission on what is it, or this is the guidelines you have to go by. That's not what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that if it is that you truly let it go, there's actually more freedom there. Freedom for you to love, freedom for you to separate yourself from the offense, freedom to even move on in your life in general.
Okay.
Because it cripples you. The more those tallying you continue with, you're being caught up in the tallying of offenses rather than appreciating the new blessings that are set aside for you, waiting for you to experience, but you can't because you're still preoccupied with how many times this thing has happened.
If it bothers you.
Well, why would you hold on to something if it doesn't bother you?
No, I'm saying I feel, me personally, I think you can count it without holding on to it.
I still think it takes energy
Okay.
to tally if it is that you're tallying accurately, because of course exaggeration is another issue.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you hear the comment, you always, and that's probably an exaggeration.
Well,
It's not always.
okay.
It may be more times than you like, more times than they promised they would do, but it's probably not always.
Right.
And so again, the tallying aspect, I believe, of an offense causes us to spend too much energy on the offense
Mm-hmm.
rather than to let it go and use our energies toward moving forward so that we can accomplish everything it is that was intended.
Okay, I got you. I just want to acknowledge
Okay.
one of our friends, actually, Mark Rudge. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
How you doing?
Missing you, man.
I know, right? How you doing? I hope you're doing okay. But he has a comment here. We did say hello, friends.
Okay.
Mark Rudge is one of our wonderful friends of our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he's saying. You see that?
Nobody wins when we keep track of these things. I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. So you come up, see, that was the 10th time.
That was
So are you
the 20th times.
Is that the 10-time winner or what? I mean, you're still just caught up in it.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't help.
Well, okay. Well, let's see what else we have. So with that, how are we going to answer? I don't know, Mark, did you see that question that one of our viewers had sent in, and they had talked about their husband spending money, forgiving him, and they said he keeps getting away with it.
Well, again, I think that's their perspective that they're getting away with it. But again, there's consequences. Everything bears consequences.
Yeah.
She may not have witnessed yet what those consequences are. And those consequences may be things that are shared. But she's not going to make it less by holding him more accountable to the offense. In other words, by saying, I'm going to make sure you pay for this. That's not going to do it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. At the same time, I think that if it's something that continues to happen, and I'm not saying that I understand what you're saying about not holding on to it, right? But at the same time, you need to be conscientious of a pattern of wrongdoing, right? And then address it. So if your spouse has a pattern of doing things that are destructive, such as spending all your money so that now you don't have rent, you can't make your car is being impounded or repossessed because of this person's spending, you don't continue to allow that to happen.
Okay, so changes, and it's interesting that you go here, and I'm not in disagreement with you. There needs to be a pattern change, if you will. I preoccupy myself, and I think I heard you say something about this as well. My focus is more on how can I change me?
Right.
What can I do to change me in this situation so that I can be more effective at getting us to where we want to go to? If all my goal is to change the other person, I'm probably losing sight of what's happening with my own self.
Okay.
And not addressing the things within me that need to change, only focusing on the things that my spouse needs to change.
So in this situation,
yes,
are you saying that you think that she needs to change?
I think that she should pray. I think that she should invite God to help her in the midst of what it is that's going on, and help her so that she is all that she needs to be in the midst of this. Is there a need for change as far as the spouse is concerned in the behavior or habit? Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a need for that. But it may not happen just from her bringing it up over and
Mhm.
over again.
Mhm.
They might need some coaching. They may need some counseling. They may need someone else to help them pass the situation so that it's not her against him in
Mhm.
this challenge, but them actually working together to get to something that's going to be more productive and profitable for them as a family.
I get what you're saying. We love you too. Yes, we do. He's always there. Hey, we just had some greens not too long ago, too, by the way. Jeff made some greens. When you gonna make some greens? Hey, everybody. This is Mark, one of our wonderful friends out of Iowa, Mark Rudge, and I hope you're recuperating. We do miss you. But he makes some really good greens. Jeff's trying to challenge you too, by the way. So we have to see. We have to have a challenge and
Greens
a
cook
green
off.
off. But Mark made some spicy greens. They like southern greens. He says, I love how can I change me? He loves that. I get you. I do too. And so I think though that as far as dear marriage coach, do you keep forgiving him? Yes, you do it for you. You keep forgiving him.
You, you
At the
do it because
same
God
time,
said so as well.
because God said so. At the same time, I agree with my husband that you should pray for him, and also be an example. But then there's some changes that you might want to make if you know that he's spending, and you know that it's keeping you from being able to take care of your bills. Maybe you need to sit down and talk and have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that plan is going to be. Pray about it. You know, in our situation where I'll tell you, I was a spender. I loved to shop, but not for like clothes, but for other things, big things like furniture, cars and stuff, and not jewelry, but just like to shop, right? Especially furniture. I love furniture stores. Oh my goodness! But my husband and I, we sat down and we talked about having X amount of dollars set aside that I could use at my own discretion, and I wouldn't go beyond that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes the eyes were like big and I wanted to go beyond it. But as long as you can have discussions, as long as you can talk, as long as you love each other and, sit down and show them, look, this is what's happening. We can't pay the light bill now. This is a problem. And if a person is really driven to spend and they're just taking the money, then you need to talk about it and say, you know what? I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a separate account that you can't have access to. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying what we did, right? This is for bills. This is for not bills. When the not bills money is out, it's out. And you have to agree on that. And when you love each other, you just have to pray that you two can come together with that, right? The bottom line is the question that you ask is how many times you forgive, and should you just let him keep getting away with it? It's not really getting away with it because
There's consequences.
there are always consequences. And then you're probably thinking, well, how come I have to suffer the consequences? Because the consequences are impacting you as well, aren't they? And so I'm just saying, see if there's any way that you can get a support system. If, that's why Friends of Your Marriage is important. One of the things that Friends of Your Marriage has helped us with is having a couple that can kind of be like mediators, if you will, and encouragers at the same time while you go through this process. So let's pray about that. I pray that the Lord sends you friends of your marriage that you can help. And also we pray, and Jeff and them really, love to pray for people. I hope they're listening or will hear this. But we pray that the Lord will also help your husband and deliver him from that tendency to spend what he doesn't have, what he
Right.
shouldn't be spending.
And we all definitely
In the Lord's
join
name.
join in and interceding and praying for you as well.
Mhm.
I don't want to come off as though I'm not acknowledging that this is a difficult situation, that it causes offense and harm.
Mhm.
I get that, and I'm not suggesting that it's an easy thing. I think it's important for us to validate that. This thing that you just described, I can imagine that being very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, minimize it or diminish it in any way by suggesting, a different approach, if you will. I'm just saying I don't believe, one, that he's going to escape consequences. I do think that your consequences, and I mean your consequences individually, would be different if it is that you spent less time tallying and more time in prayer, and like she said, planning as well for how it is that you can move past it. And I'm just offering a suggestion for you to change, because it isn't a one size fits all scenario for everybody. You know, for some people, you need intervention, and that intervention is, again, needs to be customized to your situation.
Speaking of which, we're a lot of times we do think that somebody's getting away with things if we're not, if we continue to forgive them. Now, we're gonna share an excerpt of a movie we have been studying actually from this movie. It's called The Shack, and it's a controversial movie, and there's this passage in here just kind of setting it up. What happened that is so devastating is that this family suffered a trauma that no one wants to ever experience. And that was his daughter was murdered. Okay. So, and he's been living with that. And that is a situation where it did impact them as a couple. You see that coming across in the movie. The wife is trying to move on and trying to hold her family together. She's desperately trying to hold her family together. And he's internalizing his unforgiveness and bitterness, and it's impacting the daughter. And there's so much, so many layers of that, and it's very complex. But
they have more than one child. So when you say he's impacting the daughter, it's impacting the daughter that's still
alive
and still with them. So you have a son and a daughter that's still there.
Yes,
and that's again the collateral damage behind unforgiveness. It's much larger than what it is that you see. I wanted to say one more thing about this. She started off about it being controversial. This isn't a chance. First of all, God can be anyone he wants to be, okay, because he's God, right? In this scenario, the individual that is talking to the character that's being addressed here in this excerpt is Mac, and the individual speaking to Mac is in fact God in this movie, okay, and he's providing Mac with some Mackenzie with some advice.
Okay? Oh, absolutely. And listen, God spoke through a donkey. He can speak through anybody.
Anyone.
Right?
Absolutely. And he can appear as anyone he wants.
So pay attention to this, and then we're going to kind of unpack this.
We're here to do something that's going to be very painful for you.
Please don't.
Son, we're on a healing trail to bring closure to this part of your journey.
You want me to forgive him? He killed my daughter. I want to hurt him. I want him to hurt like he hurt me. I want you to hurt him.
I know you do. But he too is my son, and I want to redeem him.
Redeem him? He should burn in hell.
So we're back to you as the judge.
So you just let him get away with it?
Nobody gets away with anything. Everything bears consequences.
What he did
was horrible. I'm not asking you to excuse what he did. I'm asking you to trust me, to do what's right, and to know what's best.
And then what?
Forgiveness doesn't establish your relationship. It's just about letting go of his throat. Mac, the pain inside is devouring you, robbing you of joy and crippling your capacity to love.
I can't.
You're not stuck because you can't. You're stuck because you won't.
Okay.
Mm.
Very, very powerful excerpt that really capsulizes um, what this movie is trying to get across. So many things that were in there.
Like she had said about him getting away with things.
hmm And he said nobody gets away with anything. But he also took it to a place that I think is really difficult for us to get a hold of. And that is, this thing is devouring us.
Yes.
It's eating us up inside. And we don't necessarily acknowledge how much it's eating us up inside, but the people around us recognize we're not able to love on them. They may be trying to love on us, but we're not even responding to them because of this unforgiveness and this bitterness that is in us. This desire that they suffer, this desire that you want them to go to hell, all of that stuff, it takes a toll on you rather than them.
And do you really want that? I mean, even if you see them suffer, it doesn't make you feel any better.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all.
Because, we are really compassionate people. God has made us compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to see them suffer. And then if they suffer because we told them to, then that begins to eat away at us.
As though we had the ability to bring it on.
And feel guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you a favor too, and for you to just bear with us. Typically what we do right around now is we do our...
Are we done with that?
Huh?
Are we done with the clip?
No. I'm just letting people know we're not done with it, but we're also not going to go into the game. That's what I'm saying. We're doing this just a little different. Okay. You mad at me?
No.
Will you forgive me? Did I interrupt you?
Nothing to forgive. I thought we were just still.
Are you offended?
That. I thought we were still dealing with that.
Did he seem offended to you?
I thought we were still dealing with it.
Okay.
So I was thrown by what you were doing at that point. So going back to the clip,
okay.
One of the first things it is that he's saying this to God. And of course, God knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, "You want me to forgive him," and then he reminds God, he killed my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that's the case? Why would you do that? Because based on the response there, it's as though the offense hasn't been validated.
Mm-hmm.
So
that makes
he
sense.
needed to bring it up again.
Right.
He killed my
as if God didn't
daughter.
know.
Exactly.
It's like, did you know this? And we do that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we're upset, we want the person that loves us to be upset with the person. If I'm upset with somebody, you better be upset with that person with me.
But the idea of forgiveness puts us on a different track altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he talks about being on this healing journey.
Right.
How many of us are stuck in unforgiveness and bitterness and not even recognizing the need for healing?
Mm-hmm.
We don't think there's anything wrong with us. It's just something wrong with that person.
Right.
But if it is that we're the one that's stuck and we're holding on to this thing, we're holding on to this thing at the expense of our own destinies. We can't do this thing that we were meant to do, that we
mm-hmm.
were designed to do, as long as we're holding on to this offense, as long as we're holding on to this unforgiveness.
Mm.
So we have to let it go. And in letting it go, it's not the person getting away with it again. Just as it said in the movie, everything that we do bears consequences. There's consequences even for your loving someone else, right? There is another reaction to whatever it is that you're doing. You're not getting away with anything.
Mm-hmm.
But you are freeing yourself from the person, from the situation that's an offense. No, you're not going to forget it. I'm not suggesting that at all. You're not going to all of a sudden not remember everything that ever happened. No, there's some things that you have vivid memories that it did happen.
Mm-hmm.
But in your forgiving that person, that memory doesn't re-injure you. You can remember that it happened without it hurting the way it did.
Right. And that is so important in your relationship in order for you to have a happy and a healthy marriage.
That's the healing.
Yeah.
That's
And we do it on a regular basis. Forgive each other. Now I'm going to ask you to bear with me before I'd like to get into the scriptures. We usually do the game right about now.
Mm.
And let's see, just get into some of the scriptures and then we can backtrack to the
Okay.
game.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying this is because we're bringing this information up. And see, we're talking about forgiveness. And this scripture that we're starting with, I believe that the Holy Spirit gave us to begin with. And can you see it, honey?
No. Would you
Okay.
read that?
Absolutely. So then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? And Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. And I've heard some people say 77 times, but this says 70 times 7. So 7 times 7 is 49. So this is 490 times.
Mm-hmm.
And what that thing that where Peter actually came and asked him, Lord, when my brother sins against me, and he didn't even say sin, period,
Mm-hmm.
right? He said, when he does this thing against me, how often should I forgive him?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he was saying, to me, that question is suggesting, it said, I get tired of forgiving people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to tally. If he's asking for a number, you won't know when that number's up unless you're keeping track of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, don't you sometimes get tired of somebody doing the same thing over and over again? Not only that, one of the things that happens is once somebody has offended you, then there is this ripple effect because of that. For example, the earlier the young lady CS that was talking about her husband
Mm-hmm.
who was spending their money.
Mm-hmm.
So she's forgiving him for spending the money. But now what happens if because he spent the money, they can't make the rent? What happens is because he spent the money, they've been threatened with eviction. Now she's stressed over that. So now she has something else that she needs to forgive him for. So there's this collateral ripple where it's like, I forgave him for this, but I'm not going to forgive him for that. And I think that when he says how many times when my brother sins against me, I think it's not just a single act,
Mm-hmm.
but it is like I said, the collateral damage that even comes from the act to forgive that person about.
Agreed.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. I think that as far as Jesus telling us that how many times we should forgive, I believe I'm getting from that is that I'm thinking, even in my relationship, I can't imagine holding on to 490 times that I'm saying I forgave
Even
you.
spending the energy to tally
I forgave you
490,
490.
you could use that energy towards something far more productive, far more positive, and have a much better outcome.
That remind me of that song. Remember that song? 992 arguments. Remember that? They said 192. I'm sick of you. Remember that? I know it was at the OJs. They were tallying. He was tallying how many arguments they had.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they reminded me of.
Okay, but the tallying has a negative impact on us.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we think that what we're doing is not letting them get away with it, we're actually hurting ourselves in holding on to things and tallying it. So again, that's the reason. One of the reasons why I think it's a bad idea to continue to tally things.
Yeah.
There was another scenario that I was going to talk about for myself, talking about when we're doing stuff, it is that, it's not a good idea for ourselves, because sometimes as far as offenses are concerned, we do things without thinking about it, right?
Oh, yeah. Speaking about offense, that's in our game.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do that first and then we'll talk about it. All right.
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. All right. Okay, friends. We're getting ready to go to our game. So this is called Who Guessed Best. And what you're going to do is make sure that you have something to write with. We are making this so that you can do it online too, by the way. We're working on it. And that was a request that we have, and we're working on that. But what you're going to do is you're going to have your paper, or some people use their phone, and you are going to guess with the next questions. First of all, give your answer, but then try to guess what your spouse would say and how your spouse will answer. And then you tally it to see who knows the other person the best. So who guessed best? It makes sense? Yes, it does. All right. Can you see that, sweetheart? Or do you need me to?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
glasses.
in which area below do you typically need forgiveness most often? A, something I said. B, something that I should have said. C, something that I did. D, something that I should have done.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll give you a little time to go ahead and put your answer. Now remember, put your answer for you and your partner. And when you're done, you are done. You got it. All right. So you want to go first?
Okay, I can.
And so, and really, one of the main reasons that we have this is not only to play the game, which is kind of fun. This is our date night game too, by the way. We do this on date night, but it also opens up topics of discussion, so we're not talking about the same thing over and over again.
Mhm.
And in this one, in which area do I typically need forgiveness? I say for me, it's something I said. I think that is something that I said. And I think that your answer that you think that you typically need forgiveness for is B. I mean, something that you should have done.
Oh, should have done.
D, that you would say D, something that you should have done.
Hmm.
And that's because of the way you act. You like, man, I want to do this to you go shopping, you want to make sure that I'm happy about that, and you like check a lot to see if you did what I wanted you to do. Oh, what did you put? What answers did you put?
Actually, I put A for myself,
A for yourself, something you
and
said.
I
Okay.
put B for you. I understand where you're coming from with the D, because I think there are times it is that I wish I had done something.
Mhm.
But that was my answer. My answer was A, something that I said, and B.
We didn't know each other this time, did we?
Well, you didn't guess right.
Okay, all right. So that's the way it's played. You ready to do the next one?
Mhm.
Okay, let's see if we can do better this time.
Okay.
All right.
All right. What do you share most in common with your spouse? Our taste in foods, our taste in entertainment, the type of people that we like, our values.
Most in common. Okay. Let me see. What I share most in common. Okay. What do you think?
That's not music.
Oh, don't stop the music. Don't
Okay,
you stop
So
it.
you're supposed to go first now.
Oh, I'm supposed to go first. Sorry. Okay. So I think that what we share most in common, most, is our taste in food.
Mm.
Most in common.
That's what you put for me?
For me.
Oh, okay.
But I put for you that you would say our values.
Yeah, I put D for both of us.
You did?
I did.
Okay. Why?
Because I think that's what we share most in common. I think we differ, and I mean, you like diet pop. I don't like diet pop.
No, but I mean that's just the thing. It's like now we're eating more of stuff. We've become a blended in the things that we enjoy.
That's true.
We're eating stuff that we didn't eat so much before.
I don't disagree that that's definitely one of the things. But I think we do a lot of stuff in common anyway. I just thought the thing that you said most in common.
Most in common.
I thought that when it comes to our values, I think we share that the most.
I think that, well, even in our discussions, it's like there are things as far as what's right and what's wrong. You and we have discussions and we differ in opinions regarding that. That's why I say, I mean, that's why we talk about, that we have harmony because of the fact that we do differ so much.
So the harmony is more in the approach to the value than the value itself.
Okay, and that's how you see it. I got that. And let's see. Mark said that's tough. I don't know which tough it is. I'm sorry. I just saw you, Mark. And wait a minute. Wait, here we go. That's tough. I just toughed you, didn't I? Now what did he say? Oh, DDD. Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay.
All right. I hope that was the one. I hope I'm not too far behind. Thank you. Yeah. Trying to keep up here.
So they agree with me.
They do. Okay. Value. All right. Well, they agree with you, but I'm the one married to you, so I count more. But we will have a portion of that too, by the way. We're going to invite the people who are listening to guess. And if you guess which one guessed best, then you can qualify for a prize. How's that? I like that. Okay. All right. You ready to do the next one?
Okay. So what type?
Oh, sorry.
What type of apology would make you happiest after being offended by your spouse? A nice letter, an apology at a nice restaurant, an apology with a surprise gift, a simple "I'm sorry." What would make you happiest after being offended by your spouse?
What type of apology would make you happy? Let's think about that. What would make you happy? I think I know. Whether you're ready. Ready? All right. So, what do we have? Which type of apology would make you happiest?
Well, for me, it was A, nice apology letter. B, a nice apology at a restaurant I had for you.
Now, wait a minute. Why do you think me B?
Because you like to go to nice restaurants.
Yeah.
And in that environment, an apology would probably have, better chance of being received.
You're still thinking about you.
I said being received.
Being received, you think I would receive
because
it better?
You would feel better in that environment.
That would make me happiest.
Yes.
I see where you're coming from. However, I put A for me. A nice apology letter.
Okay.
And the reason is I like your writing, and it's something that I can reflect on. Usually, if you write something, it's going to be nice and it's going to touch my heart. Okay. If we're in a restaurant, I don't know how you would say, you talk a little different than you write, right? And so I would be able to. And so I'm about you. And so I would be able to reflect on you're saying something. It'll be more, I'd enjoy it. And you said, which would make me happiest. So at the restaurant, I would enjoy that for a moment, but I would be happiest being able to look at what you wrote.
Okay, so what you put for me?
I put A for you.
So you had
the apology letter. Yeah, because I know you like writing. You like stuff like that. And I would make it really nice.
Okay.
I love you. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry 1,000 times. I'm sorry. I'll never do it again.
Okay.
And even if I do, then I'm sorry still. But yeah,
Okay.
so tallying up, who knows who best? Me, because you didn't get any of mine right, but I got yours one right.
Is that how we do it?
Who
I thought
gets
we had to
best?
both get it right for it to count.
I did. I mean, I
You
got
got
one.
both.
I got one right for you. Did
One
you
right for
get?
me. Did you get one right for you and me at the same time?
What do you mean? Did I get one right for me? I always get one right for me because I
No,
say
what you put
me.
down for you, did you get it right? I'm saying, did you have it right on both sides? Is what I'm saying.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, so I just thought we had to have both answers right for it to count. What I have for you and what I have for me.
Only you know what's right for you. What are you talking about?
I'm
Of
talking
course, what
about
I
the
say
point, the
is
answers
right
that
for
we put
me.
down. Okay, I don't know this game, I guess, because I was tallying it differently. I
No,
thought you had to have both answers for us to count that one as good, as a point. Other than that, I thought we missed it.
he's scaring me, y'all. He's scaring me. Wait a minute. No, what I'm saying is, so for this last one, I said for me is A. That's the truth.
Okay.
But I had to try to guess what you were gonna say. That's the way this game works. And I
So you're
guessed
only getting counted for what you guess.
right. That's why it's called Who Guessed Best.
Okay then. All
Now
right.
you get it. Hey, y'all, we've been
I
playing
get
this game like
I,
for nine
I
years
get
now.
these are her rules now. It's okay.
I made
It's
the
okay.
game up.
It's okay.
So
It's
yeah, it got to
okay.
be my rule.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. So I win, and I love you.
I'm glad she wins. When she wins, I win.
But let's go right next and see what's going on here. You tally it up too, and that's hey, listen. Also, just so you know, we're gonna have this. The game available for you is gonna be online, and you can play again. We encourage you to do this for your date night as well. Go over these again, and then actually, when you're going over it, discuss like when you have the differences, or even when you have them in common. It makes really interesting conversation. It's good conversation. You learn more about each other. I wanted you to share something though as we move on, about the as we go into the scripture. He gave me an example of we were talking about offense, right? And how do you deal with offense? And we were talking about how you can internalize it and not even realize that you're offended, and then how it impacts not just you but the people around you,
Mm-hmm.
and the different types of things that offend you. A lot of times, in other words, you don't even know that you've been offended. And so, of course, you're not forgiving people, but at the same time, you're acting kind of funny about. Have you noticed that? Like sometimes people are acting kind of funny around you. And it's like, what did I do? I just recently, someone thought that I was offended by them, and I had to clarify. I was, yeah, I really was, but I apologize for being offended, and I really didn't have any reason to. But people can sense when you're offended, right?
Okay.
And my husband was sharing something with me that I wanted him to share with other people too. And this was when he was playing football, how the offense actually impacted him in and how it was used against him.
Mm-hmm. So the situation, just to set this up, we're in football season right now, and like you said, it was football. I was way earlier in our years, but what was happening is that we were playing a team, and this particular team was one that had been rated higher than us, and we were doing really good against them. And so what happened is that I was under center, and in a as a quarterback, I know my role. I know that I am a trusted leader, meaning that my team is trusting me to make the right decisions as a quarterback. My coach is trusting me to call the right plays. There's a lot of stuff that's going on here as far as my role is concerned. And so I'm under center. I'm looking around, and I'm about to call the play out because I see something, and I'm getting ready to do that. And while I do that, this linebacker that's in front of me directs something to me. He says something to me, and he directs it to me using the N word.
So he was white, the
Yes,
linebacker,
yes, yes, he
right? And
was.
he was black.
Hmm.
Oh, you still
And
are black though.
and
But
I
when
was
you
trying
did
to tell
that,
the story.
right? Go ahead, tell the
So
story. Don't get offended.
when it is that I heard this, it was like all of a sudden, all of the reasoning and all the responsibilities and all of the stuff it is that I've been trusted to do just went out the window. And I, instead of calling the play out, reached across and struck him on his helmet. Of course, that was a penalty. Not only did it cost us a penalty, but I ended up being ejected from the game. So the impact was huge. It wasn't like we had 5 or 6 quarterbacks sitting around. Somebody who was not prepared had to come in for me. I couldn't do what we had practiced all this time for me to do because I reacted to this offense that came at me. Now, was he wrong? Yes, absolutely he was wrong. But me reacting as I did without thinking caused a consequence that I needed forgiveness for then. My coach, who had trusted me, my team who had trusted me to do things, I needed their forgiveness and I needed to build that trust again with them. I did say to them, and I said to myself, that's not going to happen again. I am not going to let that happen to me again, where I am triggered by that word to do something that that cost us so much. It wasn't that he didn't deserve a consequence. It was the wrong consequence at that particular time because of how much harm it did to those who were trusting me.
And I thought that was really powerful when he was actually sharing with me the collateral.
Yeah.
That, yeah, he was offended, but then because of the way he reacted to the offense, it cost the game. It caused him to be embarrassed and humiliated in front of his friends. He lost control. And I'm saying unforgiveness can do that to you.
It can hijack it.
Yeah, so that you're really treating other people mean. You're taking it out on other people when it's this other somebody else who's long gone. And then you say that guy laughed at you.
He laughed because it was exactly the reaction he wanted. He said it to get a reaction. He got the reaction he wanted. It resulted exactly the way he had hoped it would be. Taking out a quarterback from a team, that's always going to be a devastating blow, and it was in our case as well. So there was no getting around it. It was a bad thing to do, and I learned a lot from it. And even offense. Asking for the forgiveness, recognizing there's something else that I think was important in that whole situation. Even though I asked for them to forgive me, the trust wasn't there right away. I needed to demonstrate and prove that I was trustworthy again. And so that's the whole thing. What it is that we might ask for forgiveness, we may say that I'm sorry, but if it is that you've lost the trust for someone because you just behaved in a way that was, contrary to the way they trusted you to behave, don't expect that they're going to turn around and trust you right away.
That's right. We want to also bring your attention to this. These, well, of course, we're the Jamals, Dr. Aaron and Margaret Jamal, but we also have other hosts. We have the Sloans, which are out of North Carolina, and they facilitate on Monday evenings. They host on Monday evenings. We have the Nichols out of Iowa. They facilitate on Saturday at 10 o'clock. So the Sloans are at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. The Nichols at 10 a.m. so that you have this variety.
Central Time.
Central Time. Right. And then we have the Rudges who join us all, like you just heard from Mark a little bit there. And he says,
and Sandy too jumped in.
And Sandy too. And he said he said a few things. Look, he said, I win when she wins. Yes. And Mark also says, Michelle says, when they go low, we go Hi. That's right. That's right. That's right.
It's hard to do that.
I know it's hard, but we can do that.
We can.
And just so you know, we want you to know, as far as friends of your marriage are concerned, we invite you to participate. We're on a mission. We want for marriages to not just exist but to thrive. We want people to be happily married, and that's really our goal. That's our mission. We're going to be showing you some stuff as we go along. Remember that this focus is on forgiveness. We have a lot more to share with you. And before we do cut off, we want to remind people of what we believe in, the principles for friends of your marriage, and invite you to join us. Check this out.
We had to travel the world of our past to realize it was harder before cause we weren't by each other's side. Maybe it took a little longer to know together we're stronger. That's the way our love survived. Now we've gone through the fire. Love will take us higher, higher than it was before we went through love and war. See the promised land, walking hand in hand. Now that we can understand what we were fighting for, fighting for love, love, fighting for love.
Yes, that's our son, Elijah Jamal, by the way, fighting for love, working with us. Thank you so much, son. We love you. We appreciate you and love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that you'll join us next week and join all of our friends of your marriage. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say while we close?
You should be going to our site.
I do need to.
Because we're going to be providing some study guides as well.
Yes.
Some things that are going to help you, because this is, as we said earlier, a very complex scenario, and it might even bring up some things that are a little difficult to handle. So we're going to start posting some study guides weekly that will help you just to have some discussions amongst yourselves, so that you can talk through some things and actually figure out how to address this really complicated situation when we're talking about forgiveness.
And also, you saw the Dear Marriage Coach question. If you want to submit a question for Dear Marriage Coach, just go to idometoo.org, and you'll see right there, there's a space for you to type in your question. In the meantime, we really, really pray that you love God and love each other. And until next time, bye.
Yep.
From Friends
Fight
of
for
Your
love.
Marriage. Remember, we're friends of your marriage.
Yes, we are.
I'm your friend.
We had to travel the world of our past to realize it was harder before cause we weren't by each other's side. Maybe it took a little longer to know together we're stronger. That's the way our love survived. Now we've gone through the fire. Love will take us higher, higher than it was before we went through love and war. See the promised land, walking hand in hand. Now that we can understand